Hello everybody, today I'll show you how you can use the Lerp node inside PCG to achieve better results and with simpler graphs than using, for example, wall graphs and something like this in order to get per element application of randomization of the values. So let's start. Let's start with a simple example to see how the Lerp node works and how to use it for the most basic example. So let's create a PCG graph and let's call it PCG Lerp, for example. I'll place it in the scene. I'll open the graph. So let's create a surface sampler. Let's get the landscape data and let's do a static mesh spawner and let's spawn a cube, something like this. And now let's say that we want to randomize the scale of this cube. So I'll get two values. Let's say I'll add an attribute and I'll call this attribute min scale, and I'll add another attribute and I'll call it max scale. And let's say max scale will be 5 and min scale will be 1. And now let's use these two attributes inside a Lerp node. So right click, type Lerp, create a Lerp node, connect the points to all three values right here. And let's Lerp a value between min scale, max scale, and for the ratio, let's use the density of the points, or let's add $ density and min scale and max scale. And let's save the result inside scale multiplier. And let's inspect right now this node. Let's select the debug object and let's scroll back to the back of our dataset. So you will see that where our density is close to 0, we are close to the min scale of 1. So for example, let's range by density. And when our density is 0.044, we are almost at the min scale of 1.1. But when our density of the point is close to 1, we are close to the maximum scale of 5. So it linearly takes how much the density is closer to 0 or to 1 and changes of how much the value is closer to the min or max scale and calculates the result value. And we can use this multiplier at the end inside multiply node to multiply the scale of the point to our scale multiplier, and let's connect it. And you see that right now we have a control basically with these two variables of the minimum and the maximum. Let's say we'll have 0.5 to 2. And the great thing in this control is that it's per point. We are controlling the data per point. It's not just a single value, because, for example, if we have different type of objects and we want each of these kind of objects to have a different value, we can control that with the properties of this point. It's not like the transform points, which has just a single value for the full set. So if, for example, we have two surface samplers and the other one, let's say we will create a smaller cubes which are with 0.2 and 1, so smaller cubes, and we connect them and we increase the density, for example, to 0.5, and let's decrease the maximum to 0.5, something like this. So we have two sets, one is the bigger cubes and one is the smaller cubes. And let's say that right now we want to move all these cubes to be at the bottom of these cubes to be at the level with the ground. And with the transform points, we cannot really do that because we have a single value for all the cubes all together, and our small cubes needs to be moved just a little bit to the surface, and our bigger cubes needs to be moved a lot. So we can not do that with the transform points. It will work on the entire set with just a single set of values. For example, if I offset them 50 units, the bigger cubes will not even be on the ground and the smaller cubes will float in the air. But what you can do with the Lerp node is, for example, if I add other values, which will be min z and max z, min z, for example, right here, and max z. So I can connect these values for my points, remove these transform points, and now use another Lerp, which will go from the min z value to the max z value, and it will again use the $ density as the alpha, and I'll output the value to offset z, and then I'll add this value to my $ position z, this offset z value, and it seems that I missed the point here. Okay, position.z, and right now I can control per different set the minimum amount I move the points into the z direction. So for example, if I scale my cube to 0.5, the cube originally is 1 meter, so 0.5 is 50 centimeters, so the minimum amount I want to move it to the top is half of that, so 25. And if I scale it 2 times, 2 meter, and I want the maximum amount to be 100 units. So right now, each of these bigger cubes will be placed exactly at the surface, because the same value, the density value, which is used to control how much it is scaled, is used for this Lerp, the second Lerp, of how much it is offset to the z. And let's look at the smaller cube. It will have a separate set of values. For example, if it's 0.2, this means it needs to move 10 centimeters to be on the surface, and if it's 0.5, then it's 25. So right now, all of my smaller cubes are also sitting on the surface, and the values of the scale and the movement are tied together. They're randomized, but tied together. The bigger the object is, the more it is moved. And this control by the density. So if you do not want them to be connected, one value to be connected to the other, you can do a density noise and then connect your points, and you will now see that the values of how much it is scaled and how much it is moved are different, because I'm differentiating the density again after I'm randomizing the scale. I'm changing the density and randomizing the position. If I do not change the density, so if I disable this node by clicking the E key, you will see that the same density is used of how much the scale is randomized and how much the position is randomized. So using this logic, of how the Lerp node works and how we can apply this to our different kind of objects. I got a graph from a client. He requested me to optimize it and to add some features. And what I spotted is that into this graph, he has basically, like I showed you, a couple different sets of points, and currently they are created as an example with a structure which contains a static mesh, min transform, and max transform, and a variable if the scale should be uniform or not. And in order to achieve this result, because he was not using the Lerp node, he partitioned based on the static mesh, so based on each of these object inside his parameters, and then run a loop graph with a complex logic of how to calculate the movement into the z direction in order to match the scale that is randomized for the object, because the transform points cannot by default do that for you. You need to calculate it yourself. But the Lerp node can actually do this for you. And like I showed you before, it can easily tie the values. So if I change now to the Lerp node, you can see that I'm taking the minimum transform scale. So for each point right here, I have a minimum transform scale value and maximum transform scale value. So I'm taking the minimum transform scale, the maximum transform scale, lerping between those based on the density, saving this into the scale multiplier, and then multiplying the scale with the scale multiplier. Then let's remove this attribute noise, because as I showed you, we want to have these values connected to each other. So we don't want this attribute noise to change that. Then we are lerping between the minimum transform position z, maximum transform position z, again based on the same density, saving the value and adding it to the position z. So the same example that I showed you before, but instead of having separate surface samplers for the set, it has separate objects based on this input array of elements and match and set attributes value. So this thing, not only that it's much more simple to do, but it actually saves you resources. So if I go back to the subgraph method, if I select the debug object that I'm having into the level, go to the profiling tab, hold Ctrl and click the force regenerate button, you can see that it uses 2.5 megabytes roughly of data. But if I go to my Lerp example and run it, it uses just 1.5 megabytes. So you're saving more than 30-40%, let's say, of the data needed. And it will be faster to run as well, especially on the larger areas or with more elements into your parameters. So it's much better setup. And when adding additional features, for example, this control, if you want to have your object scaled uniformly or not, for example, this paint can is scaled uniformly. If I go to this last graph to allow this control, and you can see that the paint can is always round at the top. But if I uncheck this value for the paint can, you can see that it starts to be squashed sometimes because it's randomizing separately the value for the X and Y. And you can see here it's really squashed into one of the directions. So I want this paint can to be uniformly scaled, but for boxes, I don't really need to be uniformly scaled. In order to get much better randomization, I can have boxes not scaled uniformly. For example, here you can see that this box is changing its proportions because it's not uniformly scaled. So in order to achieve that, I'm using another cool feature of the Lerp node, which is, if I go back to my graph right here, the way that we randomized our density to change the correlation between one of the values and the other is randomizing the density. So here I'm randomizing the density, but basically then lerping back between the new random density and the original density, basing this on this uniform scale checkbox. And because this checkbox, the value is Boolean, it can be either 0 or 1. So it will, if it's 0, so if it's not uniform, it will take the newly generated density. But if it's 1, it will take the original density. So it will randomize it, then take the original one back, because I have this ratio of 1. So it will take the second value, which is my original value for the density before this randomization. So by using this trick where you lerp based on a Boolean value, this allows you to create something like a branch node, like I have here, but the original branch node is only taking a single value for the entire set. So as you can see, I have a single value right here, which is a Boolean value, true or false, and it's controlling the entire set if it's going through A or B. But by using the Lerp node, you can have a Boolean for each point and control each point separately if it goes through the first or the second value. So this is like a branch node, but per point. So I think this is a great use of the Lerp node as well. So hopefully you like that and you can incorporate it into your graphs. Guys, if you have any questions, please write in the comments. If you like the video, subscribe for the channel, click the like button, and if you join the channel, you can watch the videos earlier if you are in the higher levels of the channel members. And I want to especially thanks to my channel sponsor members. Your support is making this channel possible. And guys, I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye.